You can draw this in Procreate. So I'm going to take you through Mickey Mouse. It's really simple. Anyone can draw it, it's basic level. All Mickey Mouse comes down to is a number of different shapes. So, normal canvas size, script brush. What we're going to do is we're going to go to the first layer, we're going to lower the opacity to 50%. And then we are going to bring our brush size down to 3%. Now, we're going to take a new layer and we're going to do a rough sketch over the shapes. Let's break it down to the main shapes. So first of all, we have the ears. So let's go ahead and sketch these out. So you want to hold your pen down to create a circle and then hold your finger down to create a perfect circle. Just like that. So then we'll circle around again. Back to black. Perfect circle. This one is slightly an oval. And now, so there's two main circles there. So then whenever you look at his head, again, it's another big circle. So let's go ahead and make that. Again, just make it a best estimate. These lines will run over, but we can fix them later. So let's just go ahead and fill the rest of it in to create a rough outline of the shape, and we'll fix it later. So just trace round and let's just get the basic body shape ready. Right, and if you make a mistake, you can just tap two fingers to go back. Again, it's just a rough shape, and we'll go over it and we'll paint it over later. Trying to get that body outline. It's not very good, is it? Just finish off the circles. No need to do the hand and hold your finger for this one. It's fairly straightforward, fairly small. So again, just tracing over those lines, copying his body. Doesn't really matter if this is straight or not, we'll fix it later. So let's go under, get that foot, and let's move over to this foot. If you can do it in one straight line, brilliant. If not, that's okay. So let's go and do the face shape a wee bit more. So we'll do the eyes. I'm going to create an oval for this, so hold your pen down. There's no need to hold the second finger down again because it's an oval. And we'll do the shading a wee bit later. So that should go a wee bit. Let's actually just make the brush a wee bit smaller than that. Let's take it down to 3% and just hold very lightly, just so it doesn't become too heavy. Back up again. 5%. So let's follow this her outline. Again, it's okay to lift up your brush during it. Lightly, and again, follow the mouth shape. And it can help sometimes if you want to turn your canvas around. So just follow. Okay, so a couple of more bits to do. We need to finish out under there. So I think we should probably do some rubbing out just to keep this clear because it's starting to get a wee bit complicated. So let's just go above the ears here and get rid of that overlap. And let's get rid of this here. Okay, that looks good. And then the next part is here. So what I want to do is I'm just going to rub out all of that, and we can just go back over it again because it looks a wee bit messy. Again, just getting as close to the line as you can. We can straighten it out later if there's any mistakes. As close as you can. Okay. And I'm just going to do this again too. Like I said, we can go over it again later. Okay, so back to your pen. Same size. And let's just go over this. Should be a wee bit lighter than that. Again, I'm going to hold down for this just to straighten it out a wee bit. Pen size might be a wee bit smaller, but let's see how it turns out. Again, as you go on, like reducing the weight down a wee bit. It's a wee bit messy, but we'll fix that later. Okay. It's starting to turn to size, so let's rub this bit out. So just getting rid of that bit. That line that went across the face. That's gone. Okay. Let's put in a few more of the more detailed animations. Let's bring it down to say 3%. It's a wee bit thicker at the end. Up. Okay, let's do the tongue. And later on, whenever we color fill, this will all go into place, and you can see by the shapes circle, and the circles for the eyes, we can basically break down our shapes using that and using the color fill tool. So let's just have another look over and see what we need to fix. So the main parts that I see here is just the gaps that are in place around where we've done our tracing. Now it's okay if there is gaps, but you just have to tidy over them because we don't want our sketch looking untidy. When you zoom in, you tend to notice these a wee bit more, but if we zoom out, they'll go away a wee bit, so it's just trying to get them as close as possible for now. And as you go along, if you see any mistakes, just to rub them out. Okay, so looks perfect. Okay, so, and I will leave that for now. Again, your shape's going to be different. You might be drawn a wee bit straighter. I'm drawn kind of rough for this. Not everything needs to be perfect, but as straight as you can make it. But just for the purpose of this video, I'll just keep it rough, and I will let you tidy up some of those lines later. So, but let's see if there's any more big gaps. Just fill them in as you go along. Remember, 2 fingers back to get rid of it. Any mistakes that are made. Okay, that is starting to look good. There's still a few wee gaps that are present that we could fill. Brilliant. Okay, so let's move into some of the coloring. So So we're just going to stay in the same layer, and we're just going to block color it in to keep it simple. So let's start off with this red. We're just going to approximate this. I'm not going to give you a color palette. We're just going to look. So I pull this over here. We're going to go to our disk, and we're going to go to the red. And this is like kind of a low saturated red. So we're just going to try different colors and see how they match up. So no, it's kind of too much on the pink side. Let's bring it over more red. It's slightly darker. No. That's more on the orange side. I think this is probably the closest that we're going to get. But again, if you were to turn the opacity up to 100, that's clearly a lot darker. So it's actually we'll use that color. It's actually misleading the colors whenever you turn down the opacity. So again, let's bring it down. This is bringing it down really low. Let's bring it down to say 35%. So let's drag this color into here, and we are on the wrong layer. So let's go back to this layer 2. Let's get rid of that wee palette there. So let's drag the colors in, and because we have boxed out our shapes, we can just use the color drop, and it will only fill those shapes. But if there was gaps present, it would not fill them. So, and there's a gap there. So what you do is you would hold down, and then if you hold down for too long, switch to the last color and just drag in. So let's go same color for the tongue. We're going to leave that for now, and we're going to fix that later. Okay, so by far the biggest, most prevalent color here is black. So let's go and fill in the circles for the black. Remember, just holding down. Holding down and dragging over. Remember not to hold too long. Remember not to hold too long, or else it will switch back to the previous color. So let's go. Let's fix that first. So hopefully that has solved that problem. It has. So let's go back and hold. You can hold down to take that color. Almost like the paintbrush you would see in other tools. So I'm actually just going to draw over that. The good thing is about you really shouldn't only use 2 layers, but the good thing is about it for this is it's just really simple for such a basic drawing, which can be done in 10 minutes. It's really easy. So let's see where we went wrong here, and it's okay to make mistakes. So I'm just going to test this red to see where it goes. So I think the problem that we have is probably here. So if we go back to our black, let's try and fill it in a bit, see where we can see any gaps, and just fill them in. Even if they may not be noticeable, they may still be there. So hopefully that does it, or else we're coloring this in manually. No, okay, so let's just do it manually, because we could spend all day looking for them. Any mistakes that you make, you can just undo. Let's bring the brush size down a wee bit. Just go and color this on. This is not an efficient way to do this, but just for the purposes of keeping the video simple, this is how I'm going to do it. Okay, so let's do the arm. And it's pretty common whenever you draw this kind of stuff that there is sediment that builds up whenever you put down Your hand, that's just the way I do it. I rest on the screen. Other people might not do that. That's okay. It's my problem. So let's go. He's starting to take shape. Now, there's two things that still need to be done here. The first thing is that this should be black and these should be yellow, and then we're very much done. Oh, and the tail. I forgot about the tail. Let's just draw that in now. So following it around in there. Okay, that's the tail gone. There. So let's go again. Let's just trace over this. Bring the brush size down to say 2%. Going to need a wee bit more delicate touch here to stay inside the lines. Again, best practice here is using a number of layers, mask, clipping mask, alpha lock, stuff where you can use to block out the shapes, but just for the purposes of this, and just to keep it really simple, 2 layers. It's going to be really great because a lot of the tutorials use multiple layers, and it is just too much to watch along sometime. Not always, but a lot of the time it can just be, I find it just a wee bit too complicated. But who knows, maybe they're better than me. So we're doing pretty well here. Let's just take a look and let's go back to our layer 1 and bring up the opacity just to have a look at how yellow these shoes are. So you can see they're kind of on more of the yellowy orangey the yellow orangey kind of saturation. They're fairly highly saturated, so let's take a look at the color palette. Okay, so that is too orange. There needs to be more towards the yellow skew. So that's actually a pretty close match. I think that for the purpose of keeping this short, I think that will do. So let's go ahead and hope that first back to layer 1, tap the N, turn down the opacity to 35, 36, 35. And let's go back to layer 2 and then let's drag in our shoe colors. And great, it goes in nicely. Brilliant. Okay, so you can see the color in the shoes going in. So what we're doing is we're holding down, dragging and dropping. So we have one more wee thing, one more wee gap here to fill. There we go. So we have 4 main colors here really. We have our black, we have our red, we have our yellow, and then there's also the whitey kind of face color. So if I was to get rid of this, it's fine on that background. And if we were to put in, say, a blue background to match that, let's just pick something kind of more on the earthy blue. There we go, that's nice. You can see it goes a wee bit blue, so we do have to block that out as white because you can't rely on the background to do that. There we go. So 4 main colors: black, white, red, and a orangey yellow. So that's your Mickey Mouse. Again, it's made up of a number of main shapes. This is to make it easy to draw in the animation. There is only 2 layers. You should use more layers. You should do your background layer, your layer 1, which is your base to draw, your base, and then your layer 2, which is to trace over, rough sketch, layer 3, which should be a finer sketch, and then layer 4 will be to block out your colors. And you can use a mask or an alpha lock on layer 3 to keep your colors within the line. But for the purpose of this and the purpose to keep it simple, I only use 2 layers, as this will be easier to follow along with. So hopefully that's useful. It's my first time making something like this, and there is Mickey Mouse in 20 minutes, and anyone can do it. It's very easy.